Have you ever been on a flight, taken a bite of your meal, and thought, wow, this is incredibly bland? You're not alone. It's a universal complaint. We all think airplane food just isn't good. But what if I told you it's not the chef's fault? What if the problem isn't the food at all, but you? Or, more specifically, your senses at 30,000 feet. Today, we're going to dive deep into the science of why everything tastes so different when you re-soaring through the clouds. Stick around, because the answer is way more fascinating than you think. Let's set the scene. You're cruising at an altitude of 30,000 feet. The view is spectacular, but inside the cabin, the environment is doing some strange things to your body. The first culprit is the combination of low cabin pressure and extremely dry air. As the plane climbs, the air pressure drops, and to keep you comfortable and breathing, the cabin is pressurized. However, it's not pressurized to sea level pressure. It's more like being on top of a mountain that's 6,000 to 8,000 feet high. This lower pressure, combined with the dry, recycled air, starts to dull your senses, especially your sense of taste and smell. Think about when you have a cold. Everything tastes dull and uninteresting, right? That's because your nasal passages are blocked, and you can't smell properly. A similar thing happens on a plane. The humidity level in an aircraft cabin is a major factor. On the ground, humidity is typically between 30 and 65%, depending on where you are. But once you're in the air, that level plummets to less than 20%, sometimes as low as 10 to 15%. That's drier than most desserts. This incredibly low humidity dries out the mucous membranes in your nose. Why does that matter? Because your sense of smell is responsible for about 80% of what you perceive as flavor. When your nose is dry, the odor molecules from your food have a much harder time reaching the olfactory receptors that send flavor signals to your brain. So even if the airline served you a gourmet meal prepared by a world-class chef, the dry air in the cabin is actively working to strip away most of its flavor before it even reaches your taste buds. So your sense of smell is compromised. But what about your actual taste buds? Well, they're not getting off easy either. Research has shown that our ability to perceive salty and sweet flavors drops by a staggering 20 to 30% at high altitudes. Imagine taking a spoonful of sugar and having it taste 30% less sweet, or sprinkling salt on your food and barely noticing a difference. That's what's happening on a plane. The low pressure and dryness essentially numb your taste receptors for these specific flavors. It's not just in your head. It's a measurable physiological change. However, not all tastes are affected equally. Our perception of sour, bitter, and that savory fifth taste, umami, remains largely unchanged. This is a crucial piece of the puzzle and explains why certain foods and drinks are surprisingly popular in the air. We'll get back to that in a bit. Airlines are very aware of this phenomenon. They're not just throwing random meals on a tray and hoping for the best. They know their food needs to be specifically designed to be eaten at altitude. To compensate for our dulled senses, airline caterers will often load their food with extra salt and spices. They might add up to 30% more seasoning than a chef on the ground would. They do this just so the food has a chance of tasting normal to you. But even with all that extra seasoning, it can still fall flat. The balance of flavors is completely thrown off. You might taste the saltiness, but the subtle aromatic notes are lost, resulting in a dish that tastes one-dimensional and, you guessed it, bland. It is a constant battle for airlines. How to create a meal that is flavorful at 30,000 feet without turning it into a salt bomb when tasted on the ground. But wait, here's more. It's not just the air and the pressure. There's another sense-dulling factor at play, the noise. The constant, loud hum of the aircraft engines, typically around 85 decibels, has a surprising effect on our perception of taste. Studies have shown that loud background noise can suppress our ability to taste sweetness and enhance our perception of umami. Think about it. The roar of the engines is another layer of sensory input that your brain has to process, which can distract from the experience of eating. It's a form of sensory overload. One study even had participants taste food while wearing headphones, playing loud airplane noise, and the results confirmed it. The food tasted less salty and less sweet compared to when they ate in a quiet environment. So, the drone of the plane is literally making your sweet dessert taste less satisfying. Given all these challenges, how do airlines even begin to create a decent meal? Well, some of the world's top airlines take this very seriously. They have dedicated food labs that simulate the conditions of an airplane cabin. For example, Lufthansa has a special facility where they can recreate the low pressure and dry air of a flight to test how recipes hold up. Chefs and food scientists work together in these simulated environments, tweaking recipes until they taste just right for in-flight consumption. They focus on ingredients that are naturally rich in umami, like tomatoes, mushrooms, and Parmesan cheese, because they know that flavor will cut through the noise and dryness. They also tend to favor spicier cuisines, like curries or dishes with chili, because the sensation of heat isn't as affected by the cabin environment. Have you ever wondered why so many people suddenly crave tomato juice on a plane, even if they never drink it on the ground? This is a perfect example of the science we've been talking about. On the ground, tomato juice can have an earthy, sometimes slightly sour taste, but in the air, its character changes. With your sweet and salty senses dulled, the rich, savory umami flavor of the tomatoes comes to the forefront. It tastes richer, sweeter, and more satisfying. The low pressure and humidity actually make tomato juice taste better. It's not a coincidence. It's your biology adapting to the environment. Airlines have noticed this trend for decades. In fact, some report serving more tomato juice than beer. It's the one drink that truly benefits from the strange conditions of air travel. So, this whole experience isn't just some psychological quirk or you being overly critical. It's a real biological response your body has to being in an unnatural environment. Your body is a finely tuned machine, and when you take it 30,000 feet into the sky, it reacts in predictable ways. The dryness affects your sinuses, the low pressure affects your taste buds, and the engine noise affects your brain's ability to process flavor. It's a triple threat against your enjoyment of food. The next time you're on a flight and find your meal a little underwhelming, take a moment to appreciate the complex sensory battle that's happening. Your body is simply functioning differently up there. This phenomenon doesn't just stop at food. It affects drinks too, including wine. Sommeliers who help select wines for airlines face a unique challenge. A wine that is perfectly balanced and aromatic on the ground can taste thin, acidic, and bland in the air. Why? Again, it's the dry air. The lack of humidity prevents the delicate aromas, or the nose of the wine, from volatilizing properly. Since aroma is a huge part of wine tasting, a lot of its character is lost. Fruity notes disappear, and the tannins and acidity can become more pronounced and harsh. That's why airlines often choose fruit-forward, bold wines that are less reliant on subtle aromatics. They need a wine that has enough punch to stand up to the high-altitude environment. So, let's bring it all back home. Is airplane food really that bad? The answer is no, not necessarily. The food itself might be perfectly fine, but your ability to taste it is severely handicapped. The chefs and caterers are fighting a losing battle against physics and biology. They load up on salt, focus on umami-rich ingredients, and test recipes in pressurized chambers, all in an effort to give you a decent meal. But at the end of the day, your senses are simply not the same in the sky as they are on the ground. So the next time you fly, maybe cut the airline a little slack. The bland chicken or pasta isn't a sign of a bad chef. It's a sign that you're on an incredible journey, flying high above the clouds where even the laws of flavor seem to change. What do you think? Has this changed your perspective on airplane food? Let me know your own in-flight food experiences in the comments below. And if you found this interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world around us. What other food myths or everyday mysteries should we expose next? Thanks for watching.